Well, hello again, everybody. Welcome back to the Foyt Health Wellbeing Podcast, where we like to unbox modalities that our members take part in. Today, we have the excitement of chatting with not a practitioner himself, but someone who is in something completely different. Cory Sterling works in law, and as Abraham Lincoln once said, in courtrooms and in life, clarity cuts through confusion like light through a fog. So today we're going to chat with Cory and learn about legal practices in the health and wellbeing space. Cory is the founder of Conscious Counsel, a law firm dedicated to supporting health and wellness practitioners, coaches, and therapists across the world. So Cory, it's great to have you here today.
Andrew, thanks so much for having me, bro.
Wonderful. So what are some of the most common legal mistakes that you see wellness practitioners make when starting or when growing a practice?
Yeah, holistic and wellness practitioners will be exposed to a couple of different legal issues. And the first one usually is practice lines and the blurred lines of what something could be construed as, medical services or not. And a lot of these fields that health and wellness practitioners are working in they're not necessarily certified by a governmental body. So the issue is there will be some organization that gives some sort of certificate that says that you can do Reiki, you can do energy work, you can do body work, you can do healing, you can do whatever it is that you want. And the legal area is gray about how you can do that, where you can work with people, where your clients can be, what sort of things you can do or cannot do. And so as a lawyer, the challenge is to set clients up with packages of legal documents to make sure that they're following all of the rules and that in the relationships they have in their business, they're communicating expectations openly and honestly, and that they're doing that in a way where they're also following all of the legal rules that are out there. So it's very different if this was a podcast talking about nursing services. I could be very, very specific to say, okay, a nurse can do this, a nurse cannot do that, a nurse can do this, a nurse cannot do that, and everything's very black and white. When it comes to holistic practices, there are a lot of border zones and areas where it's like, well, I sort of cross over here, but I don't really do that. And so coming up with the legal structure, the agreements, making sure you create separate legal entities for your protection, we advise clients through the entire process for that.
Absolutely, yeah. So often it's a grey area. In Foyt, we started off with practitioners doing just a few practices, and then we realized, some yoga practitioners also do a bit of energy work or a bit of sound healing, etc., etc. So we had to expand it. So knowing, okay, which box am I in and where are the boundaries can be a real challenge. I like to think of it like driving down the road. The lines aren't there on the edge of the road to restrict you and tell you off. They're there to help you say, hey, this is where you're safe. This tarmac is set up so that your car can drive smoothly. If you stay on here, it'll be a smooth sail, smooth drive. But if you go off, you're going to end up in the ditch.
Yeah, we want to avoid the ditch. And I've done this for almost 10 years now. So I started this, my law firm's called Conscious Counsel. I started working at first with yoga studios. And then I expanded from yoga studios to Pilates studios, to gyms, to CrossFit boxes, to retreat organizers, to health coaches. And I've been around it for 10 years. And what I've learned is, especially when it comes to holistic healing, the soft skills are incredible, right? A lot of the time, a holistic healer is very, very in touch with energy, in touch with source energy and feeling and intuition and guidance. But the piece that's missing for them usually are the hard entrepreneurial skills, of which legal is an absolutely essential one. So it makes sense that a practitioner doesn't think about these things, because the truth is, before I worked in law or became a lawyer, I would never think about these things. Now all day, all I think about are what agreements can we get people? How do I get this client out of a problem? But if this wasn't my life, I would never think about it. So I have the perspective to understand how practitioners don't think about this. But just because you don't think about it and just because you don't know it, it doesn't mean that the risks are very, very real. You can lose your certifications. You can get sued if something goes wrong. People can make all sorts of allegations about you or what services with you were like or are like. And so it's absolutely essential to follow the rules. And we see clients succeed best when they sign up for a package, they get all the documents, we explain to them how to use it, and it's like, cool, go off into the world and share your gift.
Absolutely. Yeah, so my next question was going to be sort of how do they protect themselves while maintaining that authentic, heart-centered client relationship? But you've answered the question there. You've thought it through. You've seen it enough times in different practices to say, okay, these are the things people need. Let's take them through the process step by step. So what would a few sessions with yourself starting out for our members look like?
The first thing we'll always do is some form of a legal audit
Okay.
where we'll ask a prospective client to send over the documents they're currently using. And then
Mm,
I'll read those documents and I'll say, okay, and my mindset when I read the documents is if I was the lawyer of a person who had a problem working with this person in these documents, how would I attack the documents, right? That's
right.
what law is really about. It's you're always thinking about worst case scenario as a lawyer, like
Hmm.
what if the worst thing happens, would the documents protect my client? So in a legal audit, we'll go through the documents that clients are using. 90% the documents are inadequate. Usually it's drafted by ChatGPT or it's a template that they got from someone. It's not specific to their business or the relationships that they have. And then just on a very simple, easy step-by-step process, we'll go through the different relationships that a practitioner has. And the goal is for each relationship to communicate expectations openly and honestly, and to also make sure that you're following best legal practices and the latest rules. So the reason why that's so important is early in my career as a lawyer, I learned that clients who proactively communicated and said, hey, we're working together. This is what we're doing. This is what may happen. If something goes wrong, this would be the result of that. This is how much you're paying. If you're not satisfied, this is how we resolve it. And if you really just take a time to break down the relationship and all of the expectations within that relationship, and you proactively address them, the chances of a problem happening are very, very limited. But beyond that, if there's a problem, it doesn't become a problem for you and your business because you have everything signed. The best legal position will come from the legal documents that you have. So for me, it's just been a lot of repetitions. I've worked with more than 1,600 clients since
Wow.
I started my business, and I've just seen everyone go through the same process. If someone's getting sued, if there's a complaint against someone, if someone's getting reported to some form of, official board, I've been through it so many times that I just know what the move is and how to protect yourself as best as possible.
Absolutely. That's interesting because yeah, you're looking at the cover, the protection, the setup, how they framed their entire business, and just saying, okay, where are the loose points? Where are the holes in the armor, as it were? Where's the space on the road where the line disappears? So you don't have that direction of this is where we are. That yeah.
Yeah, it's essentially the steering wheel. Like
Hmm.
law is the steering wheel that can help guide you between the lines and keeps you from going off. But most importantly, one thing that I always talk about is my relationship with my accountant.
Okay.
Right? I stopped doing maths when I was 15 years old. I'm not a number guy. I'm not a tax guy. I'm not a percentage guy. I don't know any of that stuff. But I know that to have a healthy, successful business, my numbers need to be in check and things have to be done correctly.
Of course.
So I work with my accountant, and when I work with my accountant, I'm like, dude, tell me what I have to do. How much money goes to the government? How much can I put away? This, that, or the other, whatever questions that we have to do. I don't ask him. I'm not like, hey, explain to me, this ratio and why this line item on the spreadsheet is so important. I don't really care about that because what I care about is supporting people, sharing my mission, being of service, operating a great business from anywhere in the world. Those are the things that matter to me. And in the same way that law is the steering wheel, it's like you don't need to know how the steering wheel works. You don't need to know what different parts it's connected to and all the intricacies. It's just like, you need a steering wheel. Like, cool. You need an accountant. You need a lawyer. You got to do the thing. So you might as well work with someone who understands the industry and someone who has a lot of experience. And yeah, and that's always been my approach.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Like, so why are client agreement forms and informed consent forms, for example, so important for therapists, coaches, and other holistic practitioners?
Yeah, the client service agreement is a really important one, and we for holistic practitioners, we always couple it with something called a general health disclaimer. And
Okay.
everything I've talked about, communicating expectations openly and honestly, the idea is you're taking on a client. You're going to start working with someone. So you want to let that person know exactly, hey, these are my qualifications. This is what I've studied to do. This is what I can do. These are also the things that I cannot do. And it's really, really important to show that because if there's a complaint made against you as a holistic practitioner, the first question that any inquiring board will ask is what does the legal contract say? So the service agreement is an opportunity for you to let people know that what your qualifications are, what you can do, what you cannot do, expectations about success, around the work together, and just everything is as cleanly as possible organized so that you're protected to make sure you keep the money that you bring in. No one's going to get refunds against you. If someone has an issue or a problem, you have a superior legal position, so you don't lose control of the situation. And I think thirdly, it's just like clarity and respect. Like, legal documents to me are a big form of respect to let someone know, like, hey, we're working together. This is exactly what you can expect in our working relationship together. So that agreement just crystallizes the expectations in the relationship and make sure that you're following the rules. And then if they say, no, but you did this and only a qualified medical professional can do this, it's like, well, actually look at the agreement. We told you that we didn't do that, or that we wouldn't do that. And you signed this agreement before we worked together. So then the onus of proof would need to be very, 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 very high from someone making a complaint to show that you broke the agreement, if that makes any sense.
No, absolutely. And I think it partly does, because I understand that phrase you've used there, your legal position. It's how you stand, what's in place already, what documents are in place. So a lot of what you've been talking about is just saying, okay, what have you got in place and what do you not have in place? Let's get everything set up so that you've got the records and the systems in place to have an agreement in full. And I appreciate it, because I understand that phrase now, because I briefly wanted to learn a bit more about you before having this chat. So I listened to the first couple of episodes of your podcast, Conscious Counsel there, and I found that idea fascinating. So I'm tempted to ask you to explain it a bit more, but I'm also tempted to say, let's leave that there. Practitioners, go and listen to that first episode of Conscious Counsel podcast, because that really gives a highlight to the importance of getting your legal position and how you are strong and stable and secure, so that you're ready to go out into work.
Yeah, Lee, that's really, really cool of you to have researched the podcast before our conversation. So I appreciate that. And yeah, obviously I'm a super nerd about this stuff. So when I can talk about the term legal position and the person understands it, it makes me very happy. And look, legal position is everything. It's just law can be so complex and can be so overwhelming, and you can feel like you're drowning by not understanding anything. But also there are some really, really super basic, simple concepts, and legal position is the most important one. So everyone can hop over and check episode 1 of the Conscious Counsel podcast.
Absolutely. We'll have a link in all the appropriate places. Yeah. Okay, so sort of final couple of thoughts, I suppose. We've got the idea of all these different things that you can get to secure and protect your business, because you know what you do, what you don't do, and so on. And having that out front, clear, and have it all sorted and you're safe and secure. It kind of reminds me of conversations I've had with our other partners, BGI, who do insurance for our members. Their boss was explaining to me that with your insurance, it covers different things. And one insurance package will cover your house, and you have a different insurance package for your car. And he's just arranged a cover for personal accidents, which is a really exciting thing. If somebody's going for a walk and they slip over getting off the bus and they fall and hurt themselves, oh dear, they can't do their yoga sessions for 2 weeks. We're now arranging for them to have some cover to give them a little bit of money to keep them going while they're getting well again. So having that extra layer of cover protects all those different areas, and having all your legal documents in place for all those different parts of your business means you're safe and secure. So as a final question, Cory, what's sort of a proactive legal step that our practitioners can take today to create a stronger and more sustainable business in all these ideas we've been discussing?
The two things you want to think about when you're talking about a legal game plan. The first is just making sure you have the documents. So for the relationships you have online, a privacy policy, terms of service are really, really important to have. A client service agreement, the relationship with your clients, which I spoke about, the waiver of liability, to make sure that someone is not allowed to sue you in the event that they get hurt or suffer damages by virtue of participation in your services. Those are really, really important. If you have a business and you have someone who works under you, are they a contractor? Are they an employee? Those are the important questions you want to have. And then there's other documents like a social media disclaimer. So, you're going out on social media, you're telling people to do something or not to do something, just making sure that you're protected for that. It's really turnkey. The whole idea is on the document front, it's like, cool, I already know what you need. Just use these things and there won't be a problem. And if there's a problem, we'll make it go away. 1,600 clients, 10 years, 0 lawsuits from clients using our documents. Not one client using our document has gotten sued. So we're really, really good at what we do in that respect. protect. And then the other piece is just intellectual property that you want to think about. So if you have a really cool trade name or a brand name or a logo, have you protected it with a trademark is a really important question. And then if you're creating materials that you teach to other people, are they protected by copyright, and can you license those materials out? So that's as nuanced and detailed as I'll get. But in the journey of a holistic health practitioner, those are the different areas and agreements that they would need. If they're renting a space, you need to review your lease, which is something that happens. If you're doing collaborations with other teachers, that's another thing to have. But in the most simplistic sense, it's like the privacy, the waiver, the service agreement, the health disclaimer, and then making sure all of your IP is taken care of.
Fabulous. Thank you so much, Cory. It's been fascinating hearing you just list off things that you obviously work with every single day, which is why we go to experts in different areas to make sure that we're safe and secure. Fabulous. So where can people go to connect with you, and how can they reach out to have you help them?
Yep. The website is consciouscounsel.ca. On Instagram, we're at Conscious Counsel. Just drop us a note. Let us know that you heard us here on the podcast. And I appreciate the fun conversation and the chance to share this information. That the reason why I made my podcast is because as a lawyer for health and wellness professionals, every day in my inbox, I'm resolving problems. And it's just, I see that all the clients make the same mistakes and people still don't know this information. 7 years ago, I wrote a book called The Yoga Law Book, which you can find on Amazon. And the reason why I wrote that book is just because like all of my clients, when I was starting my legal practice, were making the same mistakes. And it's and the reason why I take the time to share these things is like, firstly, I want to say, I get that you don't know about this. I understand that you're not an expert in law as it relates to being a holistic health practitioner. That's all good. And yeah, and I just want to let people know practically what happens. And most importantly, I want to take a stand for the industry to offer a solution so that people can grow their businesses, support more clients, live their vision, build their community. That's what I want for everyone. So I really appreciate the opportunity to speak, and thanks for having me.
Absolute pleasure speaking with you, Cory.
Cheers, Andrew. Thanks so much, mate.